Welcome to Key Tech. Please describe this channel if you're interested in today's video. Recently, foreign media outlets have reported on a new story regarding China's semiconductor industry. A Chinese American has reportedly questioned China's domestically produced 7nm chips, claiming that the chip manufacturing process is a modified process and that China cannot produce domestically produced 7nm chips, with performance significantly lagging behind TSMC's 7nm process used in the United States. According to public information, the mainland chip foundry that has achieved 7nm chip manufacturing is the renowned smic. The company's official website clearly states that its N+1 process achieves a transistor density of 101.3 million per square centimeter, exceeding the transistor density of TSMC's initial 7nm process. In addition, SMIC has also reportedly completed iterations of its N+2 process, based on a multi-patterning process, and has entered small-scale production. This process is benchmarked against TSMC's 5nm process, and a breakthrough in domestic chip foundry technology is a foregone conclusion. The timing of the questioning is a clear attempt to exploit the foundation of domestic chip foundry technology. If a netizen with insider knowledge comments on the report, the relevant information will be intercepted. Then, armed with this so-called inside information, the United States can more precisely target China's chip industry. Thus, the Chinese-American skepticism about China's chip technology is deeply sinister. On the other hand, the Kirin chip, powered by China's 7nm process, has already officially returned. Other performance tests and teardown videos of the Kirin 9000 from foreign media insufficient to prove that China's chip industry chain has achieved a technological breakthrough? If the United States chip technology is truly world-leading, it's based on the foundations of chip foundries like TSMC and Samsung. The United States alone cannot produce chips using advanced processes like 5nm. The current state of the domestic chip industry is clear to everyone. The technical challenges of high-end chip foundry processes have long been overcome, but it's simply that procurement of high-end equipment has been difficult. Without EUV lithography equipment, it's like building a house without the raw materials. No matter how skilled the craftsman is, he can't even build a complete wall. Currently, the domestic chip industry has begun a two-pronged approach, addressing the equipment bottleneck by replacing domestically produced equipment with imported equipment and procuring imported equipment. In the chip foundry sector, the market for mature process technologies has been monopolized by Chinese companies, and the production capacity and yield of advanced foundry technologies are steadily increasing. This Chinese American's comments actually reflect America's own concerns. For example, once the foundry process for advanced chips is mastered, what impact will China's chip industry have on the American chip industry? The resumption of NVIDIA's H20 chip supply is an example. American companies are reluctant to part with the Chinese chip market, and the Trump administration is also concerned that breakthroughs in China's chip industry will impact the American AI industry. Limiting the sale of American chips like the H20 to China could not only suppress the development of China's domestic industry but also curb the development of Chinese companies in AI chips and other products used in the artificial intelligence industry. What worries the other side the most is the current progress in China's advanced chip foundry sector. After all, China has always been reserved in the field of high-tech. The US is worried about China unexpectedly achieving a breakthrough in high-end chip technology. At that point, the chip products produced by US companies would be suddenly faced with China's mass-produced 5nm or even 3nm process chips. They would either have to sell them at a discount or be replaced by domestically produced chips. Thus, without knowing where China's technological limits lie, the US is trying to gather as much intelligence as possible, analyzing and assessing the development and pace of China's chip industry. Currently, there have been reports that Nvidia will tailor a new chip product specifically for the Chinese market. This also confirms the view that the US is deeply conflicted in its chip strategy toward China. On the one hand, it worries that a breakthrough in China's domestic chip industry will have a serious negative impact on the development of US companies. On the other hand, it fears that US companies, after losing the Chinese market, will be gradually replaced by Chinese manufacturers. This conflicting mentality has led to frequent inconsistencies in the US's current chip strategy. In my opinion, the performance of domestically produced chips is now sufficient to meet basic usage needs. There's absolutely no need to purchase large quantities of unsafe, environmentally unfriendly, and sub-advanced chips from the United States. If Nvidia wants to ship to the Chinese market, it must demonstrate its sincerity. Otherwise, Chinese companies have every reason to refuse low-end American chip imports. China's tech industry will survive without American chips. American companies leaving the Chinese market will inevitably face a significant decline in market share and net profits. A free market emphasizes a balance between supply and demand. If American chips can't be sold, European and Japanese chips will continue to be sold to China. Plus, China's own chips can also be used. As long as they rely on inventory for a while, American companies will panic. Furthermore, foreign companies like ASML of the Netherlands have already begun collaborating with Chinese companies in semiconductor equipment technology. The production of domestically produced high-end lithography equipment and other equipment may be imminent. In summary, the doubts about the quality of China's 7nm chip foundry technology actually reflect the concerns of Americans themselves. Once China achieves mass production of high-end chips locally, based on past experience, Chinese companies will inevitably produce high-quality chips at lower costs. By then, American chips will have no place in the international market. The less they understand China's true strength, the more panicked their opponents become. This is why, after news of Nvidia's H20 supply resumption broke, Chinese Americans raised questions about China's 7nm chips. What are your thoughts on this? Feel free to leave a comment and discuss.